Welcome to another episode of Action Martial Arts Magazine TV. I'm your host, Ross Greenberg, with my co-host, KJ Kordick. How's it going, KJ?
Hi, everyone!
And with us tonight is a wonderful actor who I'm very, very excited to have on the show. His name is James Pax. Hi, James. How are you?
How are you, Ross and KJ? Hi.
We appreciate you coming on the show. We're super excited because I don't think people realize just how much of a really good career you've really had and all the cool things you're doing. So, I'm really excited about all the Comic Cons you're doing and your stunt team. And we just got so much to talk about today that I'm just really excited. So welcome to the show. We're really stoked to have you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So I want to start things off. By asking you some things about you. And you have been acting for how long now?
30 years about. Yes.
30 years. It's a good career. It's a good career. And when you first got, were you in martial arts first and then got into acting, or did you do acting and then get into martial arts?
I would say I started as a movie buff. I was a movie buff of a lot of Japanese black and white samurai movies.
Oh, yes.
That I began watching when I was in Hong Kong, which was all in black and white, but those were the greatest action Japanese samurai movies ever made, like Kurosawa, the director, and of course his wonderful acting. But, the Seven Samurais and so many of them,
Yeah, when they did Zatoichi. I love
Zatoichi too, all of them.
Yeah.
They were all great, with great action. And you see these warriors, as soon as they draw the sword, it has to draw the blood in one cut only. Unlike the Chinese Kung Fu movie, you go through 100 different moves. And you might punch them, hurt them, but you don't draw the blood and they don't drop on the floor. But that's the difference between the Japanese samurai and the Chinese Kung Fu, which I think they're both good. And that's how I began to learn about action movies.
Yeah, that's what people are looking for in those each type of niche markets, right? The samurai thing, they want to see them chop, chop, chop. It's like when you watch a shark movie, I sit there going, when's the chomping going to start? Come on. Yeah. So the same thing with the Kung Fu film. I want to see pop, 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 pop. I want to see them banging away, and jumping around and moving around, fancy moves. Whereas with the samurai, you're waiting for them to cut somebody's head off. Wow.
That's right. So because I grew up in that era and in that environment, and also watching Bruce Lee, doing his demonstrations on TV when I was a little boy, I was totally inspired by the movies and Bruce to begin learning martial art. And then by the age of 13, I moved from Hong Kong to New York. And I got signed up to be in a boarding school in New Jersey to study, to further my study. And then from then on, I began to learn Taekwondo, Karate, and so on and so forth. And I was always into different kind of art. When I was a kid, I was a pianist, classical pianist. Really? When I came to the States, I began to learn how to play the guitar and sing and compose. I was always in some kind of art. It doesn't necessarily acting or kung fu, but almost everything across the board.
Wow,
and then,
I didn't know.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that, but I actually also is trained in ballet, which a lot of people couldn't believe it. And the reason I did that was because Bruce was definitely my kung fu idol, and Nureyev, the Soviet Union, Russian ballet dancer, the greatest, I think.
Yeah, he was the GOAT.
Baryshnikov.
Yes. White Knights. I love that movie, yes, White Knights.
Yes. And I went to see Nureyev on stage doing a Swan Lake, and of course he's the star, and he impresses me so much that I thought, oh my God, that is Bruce Lee in ballet shoes. And I said, I need to learn that too. So I began to take up lessons at the Joffrey Ballet. And I became a ballet dancer about 3 years later. Nobody could believe it, that I could achieve to become a professional dancer in 3 years. I say, because I was a Kung Fu man to begin with. I was already limber.
Yeah, you were that, and you're also very graceful. You know, you transition from one to the other. In Kung Fu, you have to have good balance. You have to be very graceful. So the transition there, makes sense.
Yes, the very difference is in ballet, you are always pulling up because you're supposed to stretch your neck and your spine. But in Kung Fu, you're supposed to sit down and be, steady on your footing. That's the big difference. But
good point.
Ballet really gave me the grace of walking and talking and my gesture, which really helps me a lot when I became an actor afterwards. And also, it was a transition from being an artist, of a singer and a ballet, into, I should say, a semi-professional model. I began as a model doing a lot of commercials in New York, including aftershave, aftershave commercials and milk commercials, AT&T, you name it. I've done at least 50 commercials, in my first 5 years of career before I even landed. And then from then on, I went on to do Year of the Dragon, which was by Michael Cimino, fabulous movie, first ever Hollywood-made Chinese mafia movie, and I played Zhang Long, which is the antagonist assassin. I'm the man who killed Mickey Rourke's wife in the bathroom, which was quite exciting, a cameo role, but that put me right into the movie industry. And from then on, I got to audition for Big Trouble in Little China. John Carpenter met me in New York, and I had a very extensive audition of 10 minutes, nonstop fighting, fist and weapon with my partner. And he was very impressed.
John Carpenter, for people that don't know, he's that great director and everything. Right. People should know who John Carpenter is. So, to meet that guy was kind of makes you feel,
Yes, I think he's a genius in terms of director. He's definitely one of the genius because he touches on so many different type of movies, from horror, to futuristic and to Big Trouble in Little China. He touches it all. Yep. And all his movies are somewhat low budget, except Big Trouble was probably his biggest budget movie. And of course, now Big Trouble, after 39 years, it has become the most popular John Carpenter movie, I would say, with tens of millions of fans around the world.
It would be called a cult classic. It's a cult classic.
Yeah, it is.
What was it like working with Kurt?
He's a fabulous guy.
Yeah. What was it like working with him?
Kurt Russell.
Yeah, he was great. You have to realize that back in the 80s and 90s, the Hollywood actors has different level of not, I shouldn't say class, but just they separate it into different level. On the top is the Caucasian, then the Black, then the Latinos, and then all the Asians, that including me. So back then, Asians were not really, I would say, respected. They are needed more than totally respected like the Black.
I did not know, that was a good breakdown. I did not know, I didn't realize that's how
America is very political. So is the same thing in the movie industry. White has the most population, and then it's the Black, and then Latino. But now, these last 20 years, Latino really kind of surpassed the Blacks because their population is bigger.
And the Caucasians are on the bottom.
Yeah, now the Caucasian is kind of balanced out. But still, now the Asians still in the
I wouldn't say the bottom. He's not saying that. But the thing is,
kidding. But he's right. It's so different back then.
It's very political.
Yeah,
it's very political. But there's been a lot of diversity that's come about. There is. People get opportunity that they should have gotten in the first place.
Yes. In the last 10 years, I think it has gotten better for the Asian actors. And there's been some actors who have been kind of what I feel
were the forerunners, the people who helped get there, like Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Bruce Lee, of course, at the top of that list. A lot of these guys, and the list is not short. It's a long list of people, but and including yourself. And the thing is that I think it's one of those things where they say their time has come, and now with action films being very big, and you see, like right now, I enjoy going on various platforms like Tubi and Amazon and things like this, and you can literally I love how I could go onto Tubi, and there's literally a section where you can click for just Asian films, Asian classic films, action films, and I could and these are all my favorite stuff. I love watching it, and like it's great because a huge library of stuff that I've watched in the past that I love watching again now, and then new stuff I haven't seen. And then, there's been so much where I can see that Japan and China have both gotten into using more special effects, doing more futuristic films, and they're all getting into and it really has come a long way.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely, everything is becoming more diverse, and China has produced more movies than ever. I can't say they're all good, but at least it's taking over the world market. One Chinese movie, the mega hit, it equals the entire world's mega box office. That's how big China market is now. Sure. And that's why American movies are also tapping into the Chinese market, trying to get a big share of the Chinese market. And I think it's all good. Give the Chinese or Asian actors more opportunity to express their art. And that's why after 20 years away from Hollywood, I decided, because I've been living in China, just so you know, in the last 20 years, I had my own business there, but I decided to return to Hollywood for the simple fact that the market has changed, and I have progressed to become a director and a screenwriter myself. So I decided to come back and pursue my directing and continue to do acting, and also getting ready to direct my own screenplay and things like that.
Yes, great.
Yeah, well, but that's for the future. I mean, I can't wait to talk about that. But so now, before we get into that, talk about to be honest, I think you're a great addition to the Comic-Con genre. I mean, people are just breaking down doors to see you. So tell us what made you get back into and wanting to do the Comic-Con? Just because it's a fun thing and you get to see all your friends, and you have a lot of fans.
Yes. Well, honestly, this all began about 4 years ago, I think, during the COVID period. Everything was down, but I happened to be invited to, I think the first year I went to 4 smaller cons from New Jersey to LA and some other city, I can't remember, Philadelphia or something. But I began to realize that I have so many fans in every corner of America, that has been telling me, oh my God, I've been waiting 25 years just to meet you. Where have you been? I said, I've been in China. Oh, thank you for coming back. Here, sign my this, sign my that. And I was very surprised that Big Trouble really brought so many fans. I mean, besides of other movies they also know about. So I said, my God, this is something interesting. I make a bit of money, of course. I have to pay for my rent whenever I come back to the States. So I make a little bit of money, but I get to meet my fans and also give me the encouragement that I'm still wanted. And on top of that, I tell them I have new movies, Vortex. They're all excited. They can't wait for me to make this movie. And
I can't wait either. I mean, it's a high budget movie according to what I'm hearing.
Yes.
And you wrote it?
Yes, I wrote it myself. But before I go into Vortex, I just wanted to let all the fans know that I'm continue on my 3rd year of the ComicCon Tour in the States. I just came back from Colorado Spring, did a creator con there, and I'm And I did a small private signing at Phoenix, actually, Scottsdale, Arizona. And then I'm actually going this weekend, actually tomorrow, to New Jersey for the Garden State Con for this Saturday and Sunday. Then I go back to China and rest a little bit. I'll be right back again, probably in August. But in September, it's going to be very exciting because September, I'm doing a CryptoCon. I think it's on the second or third weekend of CryptoCon. It's in Minneapolis. I cannot remember which state. I haven't been to every state in the country, but I know it's in Minneapolis. It's called CryptoCon, and fans can find all this information on my Instagram. It's James Pax _Lightning. It's very easy. Just type in James Pax, and you will see something comes out, and you look for Lightning, and that's my current Instagram, and all my upcoming event will be all listed there, and saying hello to everybody. But
and we'll list them too. We'll list them too, so people can find them and then have easy access to where you're at too. I have a feeling this interview is going to do well, and everyone's just going to be super excited to hear all the good things you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, you can add on the poster and everything. Later, I'll send it to you so you can edit it on. But awesome. To extend this ComicCon Tour, we actually just launched into UK and EU, European Union, they call it now. And first up is going to be on September the 20th in London.
Wow.
And it's my own Comic-Con. It's called Kung Fu Con. Okay? It's only action. And I'm doing
that's going to be a good one. Kung Fu?
Yeah. Kong, that's right. Got a Kung Fu Con you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, whatever you want to do, just come over and do all the voiceover you want of your favorite characters. And it's just
going to be great to see you. Everyone's going to be so excited. I mean, all the stuff you're doing. So how are the con that you just came from? How was that? Where did you feel really warmed up with the fans? It's because it looked like you had a big turnout.
Yeah, in what is that? In Colorado Spring is an experience. I mean, of course, many fans turn out. But one experience I couldn't forget is because of the high altitude. I've never been to such a high altitude place before. And believe it or not, I was there for 4 days and I was getting nosebleed. I said, something must be wrong with me. I didn't know that you get nosebleed when you're in high altitude. I said, something must be wrong with me physically. But I say it cannot be because I'm very healthy. I have no heart problem, nothing. But then afterwards, I only realized that it's because of high altitude. I could not stop bleeding all day long from morning till night. So that was my greatest experience. Met my fans, signed a lot of autograph, and then went on to all these mountain area and see all these big red rocks. They call it the red rocks. It's not yellow. And it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I'm supposed to go back again next year in April. I can't talk about it yet, but there will be another con there in Colorado Spring. But nice. Continue to talk about the London Kung Fu Con. I'm actually doing a reunion of Big Trouble in Little China. Okay? Oh, really? It's going to be big. The reunion of Big Trouble in Little China, because it's hardly been done. After 49 years, the movie was released in 86. Yeah. And this time I'm going with Donald Lee, who actually played Eddie, the cousin. Eddie. Yeah. Probably remember Eddie. He has a good part.
I know all the characters.
There you go. Yeah, he's very funny, he's got a squarish face and very cold kind of comedy actor. And he just looked funny in it. And he just keeps everybody company getting into the fight scene that he's not supposed to be in, and kind of being a sidekick of Kurt Russell, fighting all the gangs and all of that. So it's great, I mean, we're very sorry to say that and to hear that Peter Kwong passed away. So I say, my God, James Hahn, who played the old devil, is already 93 or 94. I just spoke to
And
him.
James Hong played David Lopan.
That's right, with Lopan. And
Yeah.
he's already 94, got his big stars on the Hollywood, movie walk, which I congratulate him.
Yeah.
But I said to myself, if I don't do this quickly, somebody's going to go again, and I'll be doing it alone. So I said, I better do it now. So that's why I called Donald, and Donald is so excited. He joined me in London, and we're going to go on to Wales Comic-Con as well, which is on the September 20th in London, 21st in Wales, and there will be other offer coming in, throughout Europe and other parts of London. So it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. How cool to meet all your fans and give all your fans an opportunity to come out and see you and take pictures with you and really just get to know you again. I mean, because you're doing so much cool stuff. I mean, you're almost like just re-beginning. People don't even know what's going on. So here you are doing all your past work, but your future is bright too. So it's kind of cool for you to get back out there.
There's an old saying that says, give your flowers before it's too late, right? So that's kind of what James is doing, is he's getting these people together now. Look how quickly people pass. You're like, we could have done something, but it's too late, right? Like you said, with James Hong. So same type of thing. You can't wait until it's too late. You have to give those flowers now. So I'm very, very happy that you're doing this. It was such an amazing film. I was a huge fan. I'm a huge fan.
I could pull it off. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, I want to just touch on this for a second. I can't. If I told you I've watched Big Trouble in Little China no less than 12 times. No less than 12 times.
All right.
It might be more, but no less. Because if it comes on the screen, I'm going to watch it. Sometimes I have it saved, so I'm going to watch it anyway. When friends come over, we talk about watching a good martial arts film. I put that one on. A lot of guys in there I actually know. Eric Lee was in that. I know Eric. We know Eric Lee. And
wait, Eric Lee? Eric Lee was in that?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
Yeah. Eric Lee was in it.
When they had that scene where they're all carrying the coffin, and Kurt Russell says, "Hey, these guys that you're talking about, these major bad guys," he goes, "They don't happen to wear red," and they're like, "Yeah, that'd be them." He goes, "We got a problem," and all of a sudden, a big fight breaks out, and they drop the coffin, and they pull out all sorts of staves, weapons, swords, and stuff, and they're all making the sacred signs. They know who's on whose side, and they're having this major fight, and it is incredible. The choreography of this thing was insane.
That's right.
It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, he watched it more than 11 times.
I'm telling you, more than 12
times. You're so
funny, better than me.
I'm a huge fan. And when KJ told me you were going to be on our show, I went, "Whoa, you serious? You serious?"
Yeah, he went nuts.
I get like a little kid. I'm like, "Oh," so I get excited. And I loved your part in the movie. Your character served a major part because Lightning was the one who, working with David Lopan, even though the other two guys were kind of like henchmen and doing their thing, Lightning was the one who transported them from place to place. When it came from grabbing the girl with the jade eyes, you grabbed her and you took off with her. And, you had a lot of major parts in the movie. And it was such a cool character. It was amazing as the three ancient warriors.
Yes, we all serve different purposes, I would say. But I was actually disappointed when I was casted as one of the villain, Lightning. In the beginning, I never got to read the entire script. I only got to read a couple of scenes when I was auditioning. I was actually auditioning for Wang Chi, so I read the Wang Chi scene, and he looks like he's a sidekick of Kurt Russell. I said, that's the part I want. And then they came back and said, no, you didn't get Wang Chi, and you get this part called the Lightning. I said, Lightning, what is that? They say, well, it's one of the warrior, and it's supposed to be a bad guy, but he's kind of a bad good guys or whatsoever. I said, fine, what do you think? I asked my agent. My agent said, oh, John Carpenter cannot go wrong. And this looks like it's going to be a mega budget, Hollywood produced a kung fu movie after Bruce Lee died, 10, 20 years ago. I said, okay, fine, I take your advice. I'll just take the part. And only after I saw it on the screen, after the drawing all the lightning, because when I was doing it, I was timing it so that I know it's going to be drawn in. So I better give it time to have a pause. Otherwise, they have no time to really expand on the drawing.
Right.
And that's how I designed it. And it turned out to be looking great. When I saw it on the big screen, I said, my God, that is lightning. I'm glad I got the part.
He definitely was an iconic character. People know who Lightning was.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you really get to
talk
see
much.
But you really get to see your kung fu expertise in that scene where they have the two jade-eyed women touch the sword and they got to raise them up, like this. And the three of you go into your forms and you're like, you're doing your whole thing, and the lightning and all this stuff. And it was like really, really, you're doing a whole like qigong, whole thing.
That's right.
And oh my God, it was just I love it.
It's different, it's different than the Japanese samurai.
Yeah, and it's over.
I was like, the qigong.
Yeah.
So to the Westerners, it's a different style of kung fu. Instead of Bruce Lee, a snap and snapping kick, all we have to do is go. So I think that's what makes Big Trouble different than everything else,
Yeah, it was very cool. It was very cool. The mysticism that was in the film, the whole thing, the thing with the three warriors and David Lopan were actually taken from legendary characters from Chinese history, and they, the way they played it out. I just loved how they did the storytelling. Now you said you're a script writer, you're a script author. I also write scripts, and I also help people with their script writing. And everybody thinks it's simple. Oh, you just write a story. It's not as simple as you think, right? I mean, you really have to bring a lot of elements together, and then sometimes the scene's not working right. You got to fix it and change where it is or who's doing what. It's a whole process. It's a lot of work. But I mean, that story was just fantastic. It was so good. It was so good. So did you have any experiences on the set with any of those particular actors that was something you really, that stands out in your mind?
I can't say I stand. First of all, I was kind of a new kid on the block when I arrived in LA. It's my first time in LA and being in the movie industry, so I didn't know anybody. I was just keeping it to myself, One thing I remember, the choreographer came up to me. He's very famous, of course. He came up to me. He said, "Are you okay with your own action and all of that?" I said, "Yes, I know what I'm doing." He said, "Fine, I leave it to you. You come up with something interesting." I said, "I will. Don't worry about it. I know what I'm doing." Because I'm always in command of my own art. I don't need people to tell me what to do. They just have to tell me what they want, and I'll come up with something interesting.
Nice.
Which I, of course, respect him because he's, again, now 80 or 90 years old now, and he's one of the best Chinese movie kung fu choreographer. Which I'm also an action choreographer, and I actually have my own action team, which we'll talk about it a little later.
Yes, we got to talk about that. How did you get into building your own action team and stunt team?
Yeah, well, it actually began, when I moved back to Asia, because in the 90s, I was doing very well, a lot of movies, a lot of TV series. The Nasty Boys for NBC, I was playing a lead along with Benjamin Bratt, playing a narcotic agent and all of that. Made quite a bit of money, and And I would venture on into Hong Kong and starring in movies with Michelle Yeoh, the Heroic Trio, which is again a very big international cult movie now. I just felt that every time I come back to the States, because I star in my own movie in Hong Kong, and then I come back here, strangely enough, they still don't offer the parts to me without auditioning. I said, how could that be when I'm already worth so much money? You know, I mean, Michelle Yeoh's movie, The Heroic Trio, did 20 million USD back in the early 90s. That is already a mega hit, you know, in Asia. And yet when I come back here, they treated me like just another actor. They said, oh, you got to go and audition for it. I said, what the fuck am I doing here? You know, that I'm not getting the respect I deserve. I said, hell with this. I just took off and went back to Asia. Never came back again, you know. From 97 on, I just moved on to Asia. I was doing concerts in Las Vegas, Chinese concerts. I was already doing my own business. And then went on to Asia and lived there for 20 some odd years. And that's when I began to produce my own shows. I got together a group of wonderful Chinese young people. They are all into Shaolin Kung Fu and different type of Kung Fu. And I organized a group and sent them to Europe. And they did shows, live action shows on stage for over at least 100 to 200 shows, you know, for a period of 6 months every time on a nightly show. And then when they came back, I will be putting them on TV, you know, doing movie premieres. They're doing live action Kung Fu in front of the audience. And Jackie Chan and Jet Li were among the audience, you know, when we are doing our own Kung Fu show. We'll make this.
I definitely think you're underrated, and you know, you like you said, you deserve way more respect for the caliber of who you are in the business, and I agree with you on that. Like you and your manager and I were talking, you know, like she says, you're cover material, not inside material. And I agree with that, especially with all the good things coming out. So, I mean, your manager is the best. She really went to bat, you know, and I know she does the Cobra Kai and Samantha Wynn, but I just love her. I mean, she is definitely, advocates, and she does it the right way. You know, I told her the way she manages was so impressive that I'm like, who do you want me? I'll do whatever you want. You know, it's like, so I'm excited because we're bringing a ComicCon to Chicago that she's going to be heading, and she invited me to work on it, and I'm super excited about that. Because her work ethic is so good that we're excited. I like working with people that are workers and doers, and not only starters, but are finishers. Because a lot of people don't finish in this. Start, but they don't finish. I'm a finisher. You know?
That's right. Yes, you're right about that. A lot of people know how to start, but don't know how to finish. Yes.
Yeah. Well, like, not just that, but like, not everybody always hits the scene and right away they go, "Oh my God!" You know. Look at a guy like, let's say, like Tony Jaa. Tony Jaa, you know, from En Banc, right? He did Tony Jaa. There's a guy who hit the scene. People were amazed with a lot of his, you know, moves and the way he could jump up high like that. And he brought a different style of martial arts, an Indonesian style of martial arts. And people were like, what is this all about? But it took time. But he eventually made a place for himself in the, you know, the movie industry. So, you know, that's the thing. It's the exposure and the, you know, the time put in, you know. Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Tony too. And in my Vortex, I'll be bringing him in to play a part as well. But he will need to sharpen up his English, that's for sure.
Yes.
I can teach him.
Yes.
Tony also underrated. You know, he had some contractual problem with his, he's actually from Thailand, from his Thai manager. He broke off with them, but after he broke off, he still have some kind of problem still. I really think he's underrated because I really think he should be as big a star as Jason Statham, except Tony doesn't speak much English yet. I think that's one of his, how should I call it, his shortcoming. But I think if he takes my advice and really take up some English lessons, just like anybody, Jackie Chan didn't know how to speak English. right?
He's a good example. Yeah,
Just put
Jackie
your
didn't
time
know he was.
into it, and you'll be able to speak English. Maybe not perfect, because Jackie's English is not perfect, but it's good enough to express what he wants to say. And Tony can do the same. And I think Tony can be a big star, and I would like him to be a big star in my vortex. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
Yeah,
I'm excited about this vortex. So, I mean, so it obviously it'll take a couple years, but it's definitely in pre-production where you're kind of figuring out the angle, because it's not like you said $100,000 film. It's it's $1 million of multi-million-dollar film. How did you even come up with the concept for that?
Well, I have to say, being well educated, with a degree not in script writing, but more in business, really gave me a good foundation in terms of to be a thinker. When I was younger, I was more into the muscle man and the kung fu and the action and how to kick as fast as Bruce and how to punch as quick as Bruce. But as I got older, past 30s, I became a thinker. I said, am I going to be doing this acting all my life, trying to be not just Bruce Lee, but Marlon Brando, because he was one of my favorite actors. And a lot of people say I have a same kind of talent like Marlon, because if you look at the movies I made and the parts I play, every one of them is very different than the other. From age 25 to 60s, I played them all when I was in my early 30s. And I said, but when am I going to get to play a lead in an American movie? This is back in the early 90s. I said, I might have to wait another 20 years, but I'm not ready to wait another 20 years in Hollywood and getting myself wet and all of that. I said, I better do something else. So that's when I begin to attempt to write. But I'm in Asia. I don't have time to really, find a teacher. But I'm a self-learner, and I think that's part of being educated. I learn everything on my own, including organizing concerts in Las Vegas, with a $500,000 budget. I got it done like that in 3 months. And the same thing when I said, I want to do something, boom, James, get it done. I'm a starter, and I have to finish it.
Yes.
And that actually began 20 years ago when I began to write script on my own with a little bit of advice of one of my young friend who was a scriptwriter, but she never really rewrite anything for me. She just said, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to structure this, you need to structure that. I took a few phrases in, boom, 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 I'm starting to try out things. But I can tell you, Ross, you're right. It's not easy to write a script. It's easy to write any script. But to write a script that really tells a good story and really affects people's emotion, that is definitely not easy, because it took me 20 years. Now I can sit here and say, I am a script writer, because I know I'm very good right now. But it took me exactly 20 years to accomplish that. But I'm glad I did it 20 years ago.
I have an independent film that's coming out called Broken Souls. It's about PTSD. So I'm not going to tell a long story. I'll tell a short version of it. So it's about PTSD. It's got this family, and everybody believes that the story is about the father who lost his wife and how it affects the kids. And it's got this whole thing. By the end of the film, you find out that it really has more about to do with the daughter who thinks there's nothing wrong with her. Everybody else has got a problem, but I'm fine. And she comes to the conclusion that she's not fine. And so we wrote this. I helped rewrite a lot of stuff with it. My friend, director Carlos Hagney, had me write the script. And I wanted to have, like you said, I wanted to reach into people's hearts and make them cry. I wanted them to be emotionally moved by the end of the film. So they're filming the final scene and when they're in a school auditorium, and the students have to get up and read their paper about the person who affected their lives, who's their hero, this kind of thing. And she gets up there, and I had her read this story and tell the whole thing based on what happened in the movie. And the director calls me up. Carlos calls me and goes, Rush, you're not going to believe this. I go, what? He goes, the camera crew, the other actors, everybody was crying. He was crying for what was going on. I said, really? That's awesome. I said, when we're in the theaters, it's going to be
what
like,
you wanted.
So, I mean, I felt really good about that. But it's not, like you said, it's a craft, to build up the emotion, to hit the keys, to really get people in their head about it. It's not that easy. There is a show right now that's a really good example of good writing. It's called Poker Face, right? And it's about this woman who has this built-in BS meter. When people say lies, she just knows. But and then she reminds me of a female Columbo. Remember Columbo, the detective?
Yeah, Columbo, wonderful show. Yes, wonderful show. I know that.
So she reminds me. She's not a detective. She's just some woman who used to, run the games. But she could tell when people were bluffing, so she made lots of money. And then they blackballed her from that because they figured something was up. In any event, so now she's in this thing where every time somebody gets killed, she winds up being kind of in the midst of everything. She can tell that people are lying, and she can't help herself. She has to figure out why they're lying. So she reminds me of this, female Columbo. But the story writing is so good that by the time you get to the end, she's going to blow up the spot for the bad guy in a classic kind of way. But just the way it's all engineered, where it shows the person going through the action of murdering somebody for a reason, and then it goes to almost like a flashback where she comes into the picture and now figures out why it's a bunch of BS and exposes them. And I'm like, what a great story style. So, but that's, again, it's hard they've got that chemistry going for that show every week. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm addicted to this thing. And there you are. You're sitting there going, oh my God, I'm addicted to this show. Right. I'm addicted to the show. And that's the chemistry. I'm really excited to hear about your movie, Vortex. And when it comes out, oh man, I can't wait to see it. It's going to be so good.
You got me all excited about that too. So tell us a little bit about, what are you allowed to talk about for that? Can you talk about
I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I can tell you the story began with the
Hi, James Pax. Finally, we're kicking off our European tour of Kung Fu Con. First up, it's going to be in London. The theme is going to be on the reunion of Big Trouble in Little China. It's going to be at the St. Thomas More Comprehensive School, LD, at a train station called Eltham, Greenwich, from 8:30 to about 5 p.m. So make sure you get there early. And of course, you can reserve your ticket ASAP. My co-star, Donald Lee, who played Eddie, Kurt Russell's sidekick, will be there with me.
Get us out of here. Great. Hey, I'll trade you. All right, which way? Fast, before they wake up. There, I think. Down there. Safety! Yeah. Wait! First time you ever plugged somebody? Of course not. Come on! You want to go up or down? Up or down? Up!
And along with many other action stuntmen and action actors. After 39 years, the release of the movie, we're finally doing a reunion in London. So don't miss it. There's going to be VIP dinner for those who want to share a chit-chat dinner with me and Donald. So RSVP early. And fans, don't forget to check out Cosplay contests. It's going to be one of a kind. You can dress up any characters you like in action movies, video games, and Japanese anime. So come, dress up, and compete. The winners will be getting many free gifts from us. Woo! You can book your tickets now at www.kungfulegends.com. Act fast. Bring you whatever you want us to sign, and we'll sign. I'll see you there in London on September the 20th. We are coming!